Let's just
Real,
say it's
real quick, bro. I actually wasn't recording.
Ah.
Let's rewind this real fast.
All right. Well, I'm not going to restart my camera, so.
Don't worry about it, because I want that footage anyways. All right, 3, 2, 1.
What's up? Welcome to the Buckhouse Podcast. I'm Johnathan Buckhouse, and Benjamin Buckhouse is my co-host, who's also my little brother. And this is our podcast where we talk about all things, everything. And this is episode 18. Technically, it could be 17, but last week I messed up and I was filming in Texas outside and my camera's overheating. There's chickens in the background. It was a disaster. So Ben did a solo podcast last week. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you do. And yeah, this is our podcast where we just get together and catch up as brothers, talk about all things, anything, whether it's business, social media, video games. And I know Ben had a pretty busy weekend watching some Halo tournaments. So bro, why don't you talk about I know you made a bracket, you had predictions. What happened with your Halo event?
So yeah, we had a Halo tournament, which I know I've touched on it a lot, and I have a problem of like over explaining or explaining multiple times. But basically, it's like a big tournament. It's at like the way I watch it is like watching NFL playoffs, essentially. Like I'm glued to the TV. I care about what's happening and everything like that. And I do want to get my foot in the door in the Halo scene. So what I did was I went ahead and made a prediction video ahead of time, and I put a lot of effort into it where I was like, I had to physically build a bracket, and I did research on previous tournaments to see what the bracket would look like, because I don't know that much, as in like if this team beats this team, where do they end up on the bracket? If this team beats that team, so on and so forth. So it was a crazy video. It was a lot of fun, but I actually got a lot of attention from it, which was cool. I'd say a lot of attention. It didn't get a lot of views, which is normal for like Halo, but more so, I had a lot of faith on this underdog team. It's an up-and-coming team, and looking at the pool and everything, I was like, that's a very important match, because I think that they could beat it. I think they could beat Optic. Optic's a big name. They're like the 3rd seed going into the tournament, stuff like that. So I was like, this up-and-coming roster, I think they could beat Optic. And they did lose to Optic twice in a row, like 2 times, but they took them to a game 5, which is like very difficult to do. And really what it is one of the players on that up-and-coming team, it was quite literally his 3rd time. It was his first time on main stage at the tournament. His very first time on main stage was at this tournament against Optic, who has literally combined 4 decades of experience. Like all 4 of the players have a ton of experience, and so that's what I'm making them lose. But my bracket was actually, I kind of had 2 things. I said, this is how I think it's going to go, and this is how I want it to go, right? So I wanted that underdog team to beat Optic and all that stuff, but realistically, I thought Optic would win, and I was correct. I said they would like win in a game 5, and then from there, I also had the bracket layout. I was correct on all 16 teams except for 1, and the reason why I messed up on it is because the way that it works is there's like an open bracket, which is where amateurs can play. So if you aren't a top 12 team, you get put into that. And I forgot that essentially a team that should be in the top 12 was put in the open bracket, which means that they had to play against amateurs. I completely forgot about them. If I had remembered them, I 100% would have said that they would have came out on top. And that was just my mistake on overlooking that. But other than that, I was 100% accurate on the bracket, which was crazy.
So you had FaZe Clan winning the whole thing?
Well, so I should say, I should say I was 100% accurate on the pool play. I'm like I said, I'm like over explaining at this point, but there's like a pool play in which if you lose, it affects your tournament play, but it's not like if you lose, you're out of the tournament type of thing. It's a little complicated, but so I was 100% accurate on the pool play minus that 1 team that I forgot about. Now I did have FaZe winning the whole tournament, and that underdog team, it's called Pure, so I'll just start saying that now. Pure 3-0'd FaZe in round 1, which I was like, that's better than them beating Optic, in my opinion. I was like, there's no way that they just did that. And sure enough, they did. They 3-0'd them in round 1. So that team got top 4, which is what I wanted them to do. So the fact that they made it that far, which is what I wanted. I figured that they could get top 4, and that was, no offense to those guys, but that would be my extent to them. I don't think that they would have made it to top 2, top 3, win the event or anything, but I thought that they could get top 4, and sure enough, they did. So good job, Pure. Good job, guys.
What's up with Space Station Gaming collabing with Instinct? I saw something about that. What's up with that?
Yes. So, you guys on the podcast will hear this a lot from Johnathan particularly, but there's a lot of they're called legacy teams from Halo. So when Halo, so all these names that we're saying right now, so Optic Gaming, FaZe Gaming, Space Station Gaming, these are organizations that are essentially like a sports team, like the Dallas Cowboys, the Green Bay Packers, right? So it's a organization that then has teams. But what's kind of cool is that they've got teams in multiple games, right? Different esports. So Space Station has a Halo team, but they also have a Rocket League team, and they also have a Apex team. So they've got their hands in a lot of buckets. So that would be like if the Green Bay Packers also had a basketball team and a soccer team and a baseball team, right? Now that's not how sports generally work. The only one that kind of works that way is WNBA and NBA, right? I think like Golden State Warriors has a WNBA team, but with a different name, I think. It's a little interesting. But these legacy teams that I mentioned earlier are teams that happened when esports first came around. So big names such as Final Boss or Team Instinct or Straight Rippin'. Those were orgs, like I'm putting quotes on here, organizations, but it was essentially built by the players. The players themselves built it, and they usually were just tied to one game. So Final Boss, who is like the reigning Halo best team of all time, they only played Halo. They didn't have a Final Boss Call of Duty team or a Final Boss Rocket League team or anything like that. It was just Halo. And so Space Station, which is honestly one of the top tier organizations out there in just every way, shape, or form, they've been doing collaborations with these legacy teams. So this was actually the second collaboration. I really want to buy their hoodie because it's Instinct. If you know me, my like gamer tag, my YouTube channel is called My First Instinct. And so they did a collaboration with a team called Instinct. And they've done another one with Straight Rippin'. So I could see the next tournament, which is actually in Salt Lake City, which is headquarters for Space Station. I could see it being a Final Boss collaboration, which would be, yeah, that'd be insane. But yeah, it's just honestly a like paying homage to, you know, the predecessors, the pioneers to the esports and everything like that. Because even Call of Duty people know who Final Boss is and who Instinct is and everything. So it's cool for a lot of gamers.
Man, every time I see these Halo tournaments, because I've been to a bunch of them, been to them with Ben, been with my older brother. I've won some competitions. When I see like the Instinct logo or I see the Final Boss logo, I'm just like, dang, dude, the good old days. However, I'm not mad that I'm out of it now, if that makes sense, because it's so fun. It's so sick. But like the game is always changing, whether it's from Halo, Halo 2 to Halo 3 to now it's Halo Infinite is the game now. And I turned it on because I knew you mentioned it was happening. So I searched it up and I was watching some of the games and just the game. It's just, I haven't played enough Infinite to like fully like, the maps or all the type of stuff. And it's just like, it was harder to get into, but like, Infinite is the current Halo, but very soon a new Halo will probably be coming out. And then, and then all those players have to rebuild those skills and that teamwork and that chemistry and learn new maps like all over again. And it's one of those things where like it could really hurt you. I know for me personally, like, I was one of the best Halo 3 players. I played it all the time. I was so good at it. And then Halo Reach came out and I just could not play Halo Reach like I could play the other Halo, like Halo 3. It just, those skills didn't translate. It was a different game. It played so different. And so, you could be the best in the world. I'm not saying I was the best in the world, but you could be the best in the world at Halo Infinite, but this new Halo could come out, could be so different and could easily just like take your career away. And like that type of inconsistency, like I hate that.
So I 1,000%, like I know exactly what you're talking about, and I'll dive into that in a little bit. But I also think that the greatest players are the ones that are able to adapt, because there are people that competed across all titles or most titles. I shouldn't say all, because no one has competed over all titles.
APG. I don't know. APG was still playing. I've played against him.
APG is a little washed at the moment, and I'm an APG fan, so I'm not proud of saying that, but I will touch on that. So the APG situation is he was on Team Optic, and I don't like Optic for a couple of reasons. Number one, their fans are obnoxious. Essentially, see Optic as the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, just see it that way. And I know that sounds terrible. I like Optic, but it's just like their fans are annoying the same way that Dallas Cowboys fans are. No offense to any Cowboys fans listening to the podcast, but you know what I mean. Like they're always like, it's our year, it's our year, it's our tournament. We're gonna win this tournament. Like that's the way that they are. But it was like when Optic was first teaming, it was APG, who's one of the most tenured players that's still playing the game. Then it was Trippy and Lucid. Trippy and Lucid are a duo that started playing really well in Halo 5, so you probably don't know them that well, but then you should know this name, and this name is the saddest part about the Optic organization was they also had I Got Your Pistola.
I was gonna say, was Pistola still playing?
Yeah, so it was APG, Pistola, Saiyan, and Trippy.
I'll never forget MLG Dallas with Tyler, Nick, and Andrew, and we were walking past Pistola, and Tyler and him had the same shoes. Tyler like looked at him and he was like, "Nice shoes," and they just had this moment about having the same shoes. I'll never forget that. Like,
it's so funny, especially because at that time, Pistola's like 5'4". Like he's this like short kid. It's so funny.
Even back then, I mean, you know, I was, God, how many years ago was that? Like 2010, like 14 years ago, like 2011.
Nah, it's like 2011, but yeah, but it's still like, 13, 14 years ago. Yeah, it was a long time ago. And that guy still was playing in Halo Infinite. Now, this is what I was going to say was the saddest part is there's a god tier video game player, and I don't say that term very lightly, so it is what it is. But his name's Formal. If you know anything about video games or first person shooters, you know who Formal is.
He's been so good for long.
Even Johnathan, who Formal showed up when Johnathan was like leaving. Formal showed up in Halo Reach and in Halo 4. So Johnathan knows who he is, and Johnathan barely even like was playing when Formal was around. But so basically he was a top up and coming Halo pro out of nowhere. People were like, who is this kid? Like they kind of knew him from online, but here he is popping off. He goes to a tournament. I think he wins one of, I don't know what happens exactly. I think he wins some Halo 4 tournaments, which is tough to kind of count. But anyways, he wins some Halo 4 tournaments. Halo 4 ends up dying. Halo ends up dying. So he switches over to Call of Duty and becomes one of the best Call of Duty players to ever do it. Well, he announces his retirement from Call of Duty. He's done playing it. Halo Infinite comes out. He starts playing that for fun. He gets really good at it. He goes in teams with, he gets picked up for a team. FaZe Clan at that time, or it was Sentinels at the time, but anyways, FaZe Clan, one of their players got banned because this online quote unquote cheating situation. He wasn't cheating, it was coincidental, but basically they banned him from this tournament. They said, hey, you can't compete in this tournament. That's your like penalty. And so Formal subs for him and they get top 3. So Formal played for Optic in Call of Duty. So what did they do? They dropped I Got Your Pistola for Formal. And I know that people listening to the podcast do not care about that, but basically I Got Your Pistola is literally one of the greatest Halo players of all time. And they drop him for this Formal guy. And hindsight 2020, it might have worked out, might not, whatever. But the sad thing is I Got Your Pistola literally just, after he got dropped, he just disappeared off the face of the earth. Like, I'm sure that his close friends and close people in the Halo community still talk to him, but like Pistola hasn't tweeted since he's been dropped. Like there's been zero communication. Nobody's seen him. He hasn't gone to any events. Yeah, he just disappeared. And that kind of sucks as like a big fan of him. Like that just sucks because it's like they didn't need to drop him. They could have dropped, in my opinion, APG in that situation. If it was Saiyan, Lucid, Formal, and Pistola, like they would have been phenomenal, but they dropped Pistola and it was just like all over the place. So very sad.
Well, we should probably shift gears now. That was heavy video game nerd. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. I know it's cool. It's cool that I've lived that life. I would love to game again. And I get urges all the time. I'm like, man, I should hook up the Xbox in the office and put some time into it. But then I just feel like a piece of crap after I put hours into gaming when there's so much to do. And then little kids too. Like I don't want to, I mean, Roman would definitely play video games with me, and that's the only time I do play is when I play with Roman. But I mean, if you game, you know, like I love playing with Roman, but like if I'm in a game, like I want to dip on myself, like and like, you know, win some matches. I mean, it's competitiveness. It's some people don't see it as a sport, but like I've had Halo matches that are as intense, and you're sweating, and like it comes down to the wire, and you win, and then you're like cheering and yelling, and like, yeah. Did I tell you I found some old school? I'll send them to you for this episode, but I found some of the old school Halo photos on my hard drive.
Oh, please do. Please do.
I'll send those to Ben, but let me double check which ones I have real quick. I have the first ever Halo competition with me, Tyler, Nick, and Sergio at Entertainmart.
I'm envisioning the picture right now. I know what picture it is. I'm envisioning.
This was the first ever Halo tournament that we ever competed in. We got third.
Aren't you wearing all white shirts?
No, that was when
white shirts.
That's when me and Nick did the 2v2 at Entertainmart. And we got,
yeah, I'm thinking of that, but
I don't remember what place we got in the 2v2. But that Halo tournament, is that the only photo I have? I guess that is the only Halo photo I have. But that Halo tournament was special because we only played online, and we were just good. We didn't have strategies. We didn't have map lockdowns. And that's why we ended up losing in the Final Four, because we didn't understand that like you could lock down, lock out, and like have like lock down BR tower and like make it impenetrable, if that makes sense. So yeah, we learned a lot.
So here's something that the viewers that don't care about video games will benefit from. So I love football when it comes to sports. I don't really care about any other sport. I actually struggle with like every other sport. Like if I try watching it, I'm like, I know what's going on. I understand what's happening. I just don't understand why people necessarily enjoy it. But it is what it is. I love football. I've played football, not at a high level to tell you the truth in any way, shape, or form. Admittedly, I was bad at football in high school and everything. I made plays happen, but I was bad. But so it's no understanding sports, understanding football and everything, and then also being a diehard video game fan and understanding that. I would say that arguably they are just as difficult at a professional level. And I know that would be like, wow, you're just playing video games, blah, blah. No, what Johnathan was just explaining about like locking down a map, you are playing chess with 8 people, including yourself, right? 8 people. You are playing chess. Who's going to make the next best move, blah, blah, blah. But then also you are playing like an 8-person, like 3D chess that then also has like, they've got, I think, 14 different game modes. And what I mean by that is there's an arena, which I've explained before, is basically like an area of a location of like on a map that you play in. And then there's different game modes. There's like an oddball where somebody has to hold a ball and accumulate time, and whoever gets the most time wins. Or there's King of the Hill where you have to stand in a hill and accumulate time. Or there's Capture the Flag where you have to go to the enemy base, grab a flag, read back. Right? There's different game modes. So there's like 14 different game modes and map combinations that you can play. So not only are you having to master chess on every map, you're having to master chess on every game mode, and you have to master chess against each team that has 4 different players, and you've got 3 other teammates playing chess with you, and you have to make sure that they're playing chess on the same page that you're playing chess. It is a complicated thing, and then also, each game is about like 15 minutes or whatever, but you can play 5 games in one sitting, sometimes 7, and then you'll play like 12 matches in a day. Like this is, it's exhausting mentally. It is a mentally exhausting, mentally challenging experience. And you have to be like skilled with your thumbs and everything. It's incredibly difficult. And you're studying footage for months on end. Like, people underappreciate video gaming, but it's a very technical, very competitive, very mind, like it challenges your mind. And I love it. That's why I like to play video games. So,
well, you missed an important part too. So like, you're playing chess against these other players, but when you make your move, it then also translates to how skilled are you? Because let's say you say, okay, I am going to make this move. I'm going to charge this person in this area. Now you have to use your skills to outskill that person in a shooting match, or, and so it's making chess decisions and things, and then equating your skill and ability to be better than the other team, or use your teammates to overpower one person or multiple people. So yeah, there's a ton to it. It's very fast paced. It's constantly changing. So I do want to say, if team ping pong can be an Olympic sport, then video games can be considered some level of sport. Because watching two dudes so intensely play ping pong, I was dying. I was like, this is crazy.
So I'm not going to discredit ping pong at all. I'm not saying I'm disagreeing with you. I ping pong, I know that's a physical sport, blah, blah, but it's like, yeah, no, I agree with you. I know the direction you're going. We can separate from video games. I do just want to share one last example, though. So what Johnathan was saying about, like, you make a chess decision that's like a bold decision, and you have to have the skill to back it up. Like I said, one last example. Freak of Nature in Halo 5, guy named Frosty. He was literally named Halo 5's MVP. He's the only player to receive an award like that. They'll get MVPs for the tournament, MVPs for the year, whatever. He literally was named Halo 5's MVP. He was the most valuable player, period. He was the best player. That's what he was. And there's this clip. I love it. I'm going to tie it into one of the montages one day where his teammates were explaining a play that he was going to make. He was going to make this chess play where he's like, hey guys, he went, hey, TJ, I'm going to go straight for snipe when I spawn. And they're like, okay, like what is it? Whatever. And what Frosty does is he literally does a couple maneuvers to speed up, and he flies at the sniper rifle, grabs it, jumps, and without scoping in, without zooming, he just no-scopes a guy in the face. That was his plan. His plan was to grab the sniper and no-scope the guy in the face. If he failed, he's dead, and the enemy team now has a sniper. But he knew that chess play with his skill level was going to work out, and it did. And that's just like I know that viewers may not understand, but like that's just that's psychotic. That's psychopath stuff. That your plan is to grab a sniper and no scope a guy, and that was your plan. Like,
think about, like, I mean, football as well. I found some of my high school football photos as well, and sometimes like your coach will call a play, and you're like, okay, but then I played defense, so the offense would line up, and you're like, oh, I know what play they're running, and you just ignore. You're like, I'm gonna ignore what the coach said because I know they're. And you're making this call, you're making this decision, and you're like, either I get it right and I'm the man, or dude, I messed it up. I messed it up bad. So yeah,
no, that's exactly the same.
And I'm sure, obviously, in the NFL and higher levels of multiple sports, there's that decision of like, okay, this is the chess moves and things like that, but like, I'm better than these people, and I'm betting on myself. I'm going all in on this. So it's fun. But yeah, so I'm in Texas right now, in Kerrville. I'm out of my element, and man, it sucks, but it's awesome. You know, like the ability to work anywhere is so nice. So I've been getting my daily uploads still. You know, I've been making some short form. I've been filming some videos out here in Texas, which sucks. Like, it's so hot. Like, I love living in Colorado and making content in Colorado because it's, when you go out, it's like peaceful and enjoyable. In Texas, it's like you got to prepare for how hot it's going to be and like make decisions of your clothes and stuff just so you don't sweat to death. But man, the office work, I'm in my brother-in-law's bedroom right now. Like, I'm in the camper with the kiddos, and like I stay up late editing now because it's impossible to wake up early and not wake up everybody in the camper, but it's easier to stay up late. And, I'm stoked that I'm still able to get so much work done and be super productive when I travel or like family vacation. But man, being out of the element for such a long time it gets old for sure.
Dude, 100%. Like, that's what I talked about in the solo cast that I did, where I was just like, I was at my in-laws house dog sitting for them for 3 days straight, and I didn't have my computer. We just made the decision it just wasn't going to make sense for me to bring my computer, so I was just in my in-laws house with not a lot to do. Sure, I was in Denver, but it's like, we don't want to go spend a ton of money up in Denver, like go eat at restaurants and stuff, right? So it's like pretty limited on what I could do. They did have a pool. We went to that one day and everything. The main attention though was like to the dogs, because that's why we were there, is watching the dogs. But yeah, just like I felt so out of my element, and all I did was watch the Halo tournament, which I love doing, but I also was like felt like lazy, and dude, it was miserable. I know what you're saying. At least you have your laptop with you, but like, oh dude, I would hate being out of my element for that long.
still can get my edits done. I'm going and filming. I filmed the summer board video yesterday. I've gone wakeboarding, I've gone mountain biking, but I don't know. There's something about being able to go into my office for a couple hours and just like I'm just in my element, and I get creative and I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna post a story like this. I'm gonna talk about that, and like I just can post on all platforms and do all this stuff where like here it's like I get just the basics done and then Bobby's like, why are you in the camper still? Come hang out. Like, or grandpa's home. And it's like, we are here for almost 3 weeks, but you still want to enjoy that time with my father-in-law and the kiddos. And, we want to go fishing later today and stuff. So it's like, and then there's a lot of Bobby's family also lives in Texas. So often it's like, oh, we're going to go see Uncle Rick later today and do things. So it's like, it's harder to definitely get hours of work done. I'll get stuff done. I'm making videos, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And it's difficult because like I know what you mean on like the family versus like work, whereas like the entrepreneur side and just the way that you are and your ethic and everything is like you want to work, you want to get that stuff done and you need to get some of that stuff done. But the other side is like, like family is also important. I want to hang out with my family, but it's like now I'm not getting any work done. So it's just like you're constantly going back and forth. And it's just like, yeah, I know what you mean by that.
So I'm in the dead time. Like this is when I should be taking a vacation or doing things. And obviously I'm blessed where like I could leave town for 3 weeks. Not everyone gets to do that, and so no, I can't slack off for 3 weeks, but at the same time, I shouldn't be hard on myself for not grinding and putting in 12 hours worth of work, which I do in the wintertime. In the summertime, it's like, like it's okay to work less. And like, obviously mental health is a big part for that. But if anything, man, I feel like my mental health takes a way bigger impact when I'm not grinding. When I'm grinding and I'm in it and it's nonstop, that's when I feel like my mental health is the strongest. It's like you said, when you're sitting on the couch watching 4 days of a video game competition all in a row, that's when my mental health feels the worst.
Yeah, I'm struggling right now, to be honest. And like in that video, in that solo cast, you'll hear a lot about this. So if you want to learn more about it, you can most definitely check that podcast out. Link in the top right corner up there. But I'm struggling a lot right now with I'm very well aware of like the difference between motivation and discipline and why you need to have discipline over motivation. But it's like I'm struggling motivation wise, and I think what it was just like I'm trying to reprogram my brain right now because I'm just like I'm letting so many exterior stuff affect me when I shouldn't. I'm letting so many exterior things affect me when I shouldn't. And then what I'm noticing it does is when I get home, I am so frustrated. I'm so frustrated that the only thing I want to do is spend time with my wife, which that's what everyone wants to do. And that's where like the discipline comes in where you're like, well, I got to go get work done. Like, love seeing you, babe. Let's have dinner. Let's talk, blah, blah, blah. But like now I got to go to work, right? That's like the disciplinary thing. But when you're like struggling and on like a depression level, and then also like you're just frustrated and you just don't have any motivation, it's hard. And like I've been letting down a lot of stuff. And one of those things is like the podcast shorts. I need to make more podcast shorts, which is not, sometimes it's like I can't find content to make in the podcast or whatever, but it's like, no, I should still be putting in more time and effort. So it's like, I'm really struggling with that, but I'm like, right now I'm trying to work on like habits and putting myself in the right position and stuff of like you're saying, putting yourself in your element. Like you're out of your element and you're not in an area to work, or not in an area to work, but it's like, if you were at home in your office, you'd be getting a lot more work done, right? So I'm trying to rearrange my environment to benefit me in that way right now.
So I think you just said the answer, which is rearrange. And that would be, okay, so you go to work, you get frustrated, you come back. Now all you want to do is spend time with your wife, which is awesome. And that's how it should be. And I know you can do this because you have done it. But like, what if you change your clock to where you're waking up hella early, bro? Come join me in the 3 a.m. crew, and you wake up and then you get podcast stuff done and you get your solo YouTube channel stuff. You do all that stuff when you wake up, you're motivated, you're excited. Then you go to what's frustrating you, which is your current job situation. So you go there, hopefully you're bringing some excitement, some motivation. You just killed it to there, which might help you have a better day there, or the ability to to not get frustrated, and then let's say you do have a frustrating day at the job, you come home and all you want to do is spend time with Kirsty. Well, guess what? It's all you got to do. Spend time with Kirsty. It's all you have left in your days to hang out with your wife.
No, so I actually do. So I have thought about that same exact thing about like waking up earlier. And for instance, this morning I woke up at 4 a.m. Now you're an hour earlier, right? Obviously not the time zones we're in right now, but normally when you're in Colorado, you're up at 3. I could do that. I do find, and a lot of people are this way, so it's not foreign, but it's like I do find that morning time is my more productive time. And like that's when I'm like more eager to work and more likely to get work done. Like I said, I've just been struggling with kind of like that motivational aspect, and I woke up at 4 this morning and just like admittedly like I just didn't work. Like I just hung out in my bed, and then 6 o'clock came out and I was like, okay, it's 6 o'clock already. So I went and took the dogs out, and then I went ahead and did some Ubers in the morning, because there's actually a lot of good money to be made on Ubering in the morning. Fun fact, people ordering like Starbucks drinks and stuff like that. It's great. So I like went straight to do that. And then now we're here podcasting, but it's like, no, I need to, where I think I need to work on right now is both my discipline of like just putting other things first, but also my why. And just like having a strong enough why to make me want to work, right? There's not something right now that's like pushing me. And I've been thinking a lot on it the last couple of days. I've been praying on it a lot. Reached out to Keenan, who's a really good friend of mine that is very religious, right? So I like reached out to him for some verses and stuff. And I've been like genuinely like really trying to sit there and focus on like what is going to push me to do this stuff. And that's where I'm really like struggling. And that's what I'm really focusing on at the moment. I do think that waking up at like 3 a.m. is the right play, because then I wake up and pretty much the only thing I can do is work. Right. But
I think a lot of it, bro, can come down to how you view yourself, if that makes sense. Like let's take, when I think of Johnathan Buckhouse, and if I come out to like a third person view, like how do I want people to view me? And my number one, the thing that I want people to like, when I think Johnathan Buckhouse, no one works harder than that dude. Like that is my number one third person view I want people to think of me, is any job. I don't care what it is. You want me to go shovel some rocks and take them to the back of your yard? I'll do it faster and harder than anybody. And I've had that since literally working with Robert in high school, when he would hire me to help him with some tile jobs. So I was like, I'm dating this dude's daughter, and I want him to think I am the hardest worker he's ever seen. And maybe that's where I got that idea from. But so that's one. The other thing is I want people to think I'm freaking cool, And so in my head, I'm like, what's cool? And, like snowboarding has always been something that's really cool to me. And so like, I have a lot of my why is this third person view I have of myself. Like who is Johnathan Buckhouse, and what are those standards? Like Johnathan Buckhouse is a really hard worker. He's a really cool dude. He's extremely nice. He wants other people to win. These are third person views I have of myself. So I don't know if you've ever done that, but like, who is Benjamin Buckhouse? And when you think of yourself in a third person view, what do you want people to think of Ben? Do you want people to think Ben's a hard worker? Do you want people to think Ben is funny? Do you want people to think Ben is a savage at games? What are these third person views? And those are your standards. Those are the period. Like no one can tell me I don't work hard. I've never been told that I don't work hard, because that is an absolute in my life. So like, what are your absolutes? And that might be an easier way than trying to find a singular, I need motivation, or I want to be, like, why am I doing this stuff? I'm doing this stuff because period, I work hard. I get a daily video out because what else would I be doing? I need to be working. Is any of that resonating or making sense?
No, it actually is a good way of looking at that. I've never really kind of like thought about it in that sense. To be honest, like the why I've had for a while, which whys can change, or like stuff like that, but like the standard like definition for like what's your why for a while has been to be a positive influence on a younger generation. And to dive deeper into that is like, I love streaming. I do love streaming. I don't do it very often anymore just because of the like just the life I've been having and where I'm at and everything. But it's like, I want to get back into streaming and everything. But a lot of the people I've talked with on my stream are younger, and either they're just barely younger than me or they're like 10 years younger than me, whatever it may be. I just want to be a positive influence on their life if they don't have something like that. Now, it's like this. Like, I don't think that I had a phenomenally positive influence in my life for a while. Johnathan was probably, shout out to you, bro. Johnathan was probably like the best and biggest impact or influence on my life. But it didn't really start happening until like high school time. That's when I could hang out with Johnathan more, and that's when we did start hanging out more. But Johnathan also lived up in the mountains, so we like played video games together as much as we could, stuff like that. But it's like, I want to be that influence on somebody to like lead them in the right direction. Johnathan really helped me with my work ethic when we started working at Target together, because he could have a hands-on experience with me and like really help me like learn and grow and like teach me how to do things and just like the way to like how to be a good worker and stuff. So I shout out Johnathan for that. But it's like, I want to be able to have that impact on as many kids as possible that don't have a positive influence or no influence in their life. So many people have such like a negative mindset and everything. So it's like, what I want out of life is to be able to be that good influence to show what you can do, right? So that's like what I would want to do out of life. But I've never thought of it like you were saying of like, what do third party, what does everyone else think of me? So I'll hit the drawing board today.
Drawing board, and I think that's a good way to kind of think about it, because one, you don't want to let people down, but two, you're like, what do people think of me? And bro, I know you have unlimited potential, and I know you've just been bouncing off the walls trying to like figure out what is it like, and you've been close a lot of times, and then the things that you were doing, like, no, that's not it. And I have full faith you're going to figure it out. I just think you're 26, 27.
I turn 26 next month, September.
So you think back to like what I was doing when I was working at Target. We just started, we kind of started the YouTube channel around this time. Well, I say this time, at your age, literally 26 is when we started the YouTube channel. I was 26. I didn't know what I was going to do until I was 27. I quit my job, went all in on the YouTube channel. Until then, I was playing video games. I was working at Target. I worked hard. I stuck with one thing, which was Target. I got high management and things are doing well at Target. But when I look back and think about it, like I put a lot of time and energy into a company that never got paid for everything I did, but I did learn a lot. But it could be, we're pretty similar, bro. So it could be like 27 hits you and you're like, there it is. I figured it out. So don't overstress it, but I would say consistency, not in like just what you're doing every day, but be consistent with the job that you currently have or your next job or whatever. Like you got to just get some level of consistency, because consistency will open up the door for clarity. And then you can make decisions when you can clearly see, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know if you're dodging it or if you just didn't know. I don't know if you fully watched the video, which is fine. But so I did end up stepping away from my work situation.
What? Was that I haven't finished the episode. Did you quit?
I did quit. And I explained it to somebody yesterday.
Find out on the podcast.
So I explained it to somebody. I explained it to somebody yesterday over text, and it was the best explanation that I could give, I think. Well, and I said it over text, but I was like, my managers and I were on a different page in a different book in two different languages. Like we were not on the same page in any way, shape, or form. It was affecting my pay, it was affecting my outcome, and it was affecting my work-life balance. And it was just, there was just so much negativity. And overall, I was just like, you know what? This is not a right fit for me. Like, this is just not a right fit. I know it sucked because, like, the job itself, I was a social media manager for a trading card company. That sounds amazing, right? And I did love my work. Like, I loved working. I loved the editing. I loved the filming. I loved the people I worked with, but my I don't want to just, I don't want to air out dirty laundry right now, but it's just like the relationship I had with my management was hindering everything for me. Like I couldn't move forward, and based off of what my colleagues told me, it wasn't going to change anytime soon. It was not going to change. And so I was just in a situation, I was like, this is just not working. This is just not working. I felt that way for about 2 months, and I was there for about a month, or I was about there for like 3.5, 4 months. So like over half the time I was like, this is a mess. This isn't working at all. And I just like put on my face, made it work. And it just, like, at the end of the day, it didn't work. So I have been having a lot of tough conversations with myself. And I kind of like what you said about like consistency and like whatever's next, blah, blah, whatever. I want to find a job. I'm finding the job that I'm kind of looking for at the moment is preferably a Monday through Friday, obviously, but like a front office worker for like a medical place. I've seen a lot of success with that. My wife did that, and now she's making good money. She's like had 2 promotions since then, and she's making good money. Her sister's done the same thing. And so like starting in an office, getting the job's not necessarily easy, but if you like start in the office, then you can get promoted pretty quickly and then have like good benefits, weekends off, holidays off, like all and paid for and all that. It's amazing. So that's the direction I want to go. But I keep telling myself it's just like,
I want to stop you.
Why I leave jobs?
I want to ask you a question. If we could eliminate money, take money out of the question, what job does Benjamin Buckhouse want to do for the rest of his life?
See, that's the I don't know.
Well, is it edit? Do you want to edit for the rest of your life? Do you want to run someone's social media? Do you want to work? Do you want to do construction? Like,
so I think I like working. Kind of like what you said earlier, where it's like, if you're not working, you beat yourself up. Like I feel that way. Like I like to work. I like to get stuff done. And when I am at work, I don't want to sound cocky, but like I'm a really hard worker. And I think that you can attest to that when it came to like Target and stuff. Like I like to work. When I'm at work, I'm getting a lot done. And I just don't know what I want to do when it comes to work. It is difficult, but something that I genuinely just love doing. And it's like, well, yeah, everyone wants to do that, but it's like, I love streaming. Like I love streaming. I love being there for an audience. I love people tuning in. I love making people laugh. I love having sick moments. I love having like not necessarily inside jokes, but like a community in which it's like they say stuff that only my community knows and stuff like that, or they like kind of make fun of me in a way that they know is like kind of niche to the community, but it's like a fun banter, like back and forth. Like I love that. I love building an audience. I love my audience interacting with each other. Like I love that. Like I love streaming. That's what I want to do. But of course, everyone wants to do that, right? But how am I going to get there? And this is what I was going to say before I would say you cut me off, like before you stopped me. It was just like I let the decisions at work, whether I agree with them or not, affect me outside of work, and it's just like I need to stop letting that happen. So I've made the kind of cognitive, like I've been talking, like I said, having tough conversations with myself, and I'm like, the next job I'm going to have is just like, I just need to care about being here. Like I just need to be here. When my boss says do this, don't question it. Don't care whether it's the right thing to do, whether it's the wrong thing to do. Just do it, because that's what they're telling you to do. That's that's the approach I'm going to try to have with my next job, because I struggled with that. I'm not saying that I was giving
something.
Go ahead, bro.
Really honest. From just from the outside looking in, because you are an incredible worker. I've worked with you. I taught you, like you said earlier, like at Target, like how to work hard, and you do work so hard, and you work as hard as you possibly can until someone doesn't agree with your vision.
Yes.
And so the moment someone has a different vision for you, you're out. Oh. And I think that's just something you got to work on. So like with your managers, and I know that's one of the biggest issues you had at your last job was, you would make an incredible piece of content, and you worked really hard on it, and you got it done timely and fast. And I know it was awesome, but they'd be like, man, we don't really like this vision. And then they would critique it. And then that's when you're like, screw this, I'm out. essentially on that work.
So you are correct. Here, I'll let you finish what you're saying, and then I'll say what I was going to say. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, if I could give you one piece of growth, it was definitely learning to not take feedback or criticism, no matter how well or wrong it is, without taking it personal. Because I know I also, like, dude, I'll work with a brand and they'll be like, hey, we want this. And I'm like, sick. And I go out and I film it and I send it to them. I'm like, it's perfect. Like, this thing is literally like exactly what they asked for. And they'll still give me like such, like, not important, just they need to say something. They want to, like, the little tweaks or like put a text away here. And you're just like, you're just telling me to do things because you just want me to do things, like, essentially. But you just gotta learn to, like, not let that get to you.
And so 100% correct. That's what I was saying earlier. It's just like, I need to just, like, I'm here just to be here. Like, I don't care what they have to say about me and everything. But, like, that's how I was at my last job, bro. And what I mean by that is, early on, I'd say within like the first month, I knew that my manager, once again, I'm not trying to air out dirty laundry, but in order for me to kind of like get my point here and kind of explain myself, I have to air out some laundry. So I'm sorry, but my manager didn't like me. He told me I was cheesy. He didn't like my face. Like, he didn't like my actions. Like, he didn't like me. I don't care about that. I don't. My manager doesn't have to like me. I don't have to like my manager. I'm fully okay with that.
Was he an owner, or he was just
No, the owner. My manager was the direct owner. So it is what it is. But he didn't like me. He said this stuff, and
the unboxings?
Yes.
Because I could see, because you are really good at social media, so I could see him being threatened by you. Not so much that he didn't like you.
I don't want to go too much into it.
I'm speculating.
But I agree. No, you're good. We can talk about this another time. But yeah. So the main problem though was like this. So I would send ideas, or I'd send things, and they don't like it. Okay, fine. You're not gonna like everything I make, and I don't like everything that I make, but I still have to make certain things, right? But where I struggled was I had my 90-day review, which was already delayed. I was actually more like a 120-day review, so that was already kind of frustrating, but it is what it is. So we had our 90-day review, and the feedback they gave me felt like it was feedback that they gave me like that they took personally. One of them was, they said that I don't take feedback well, which there was a situation. It was a miscommunication situation where they gave me feedback. I kind of rebutted, and then it was all through text, and it kind of like blew up into the situation. So I messaged my manager personally. I said, hey, I think tone's getting lost there. Can we talk on the phone? He's like, yes. It was a very calm conversation because he kind of realized that I was like, hey, the tone is getting lost here. Like, I'm not mad. I'm not fighting here. I'm just want clarification. So then we talked on the phone. We stomped that. But in my 90-day review, they say that every time I get feedback, I argue, which I then, like, after they said that, I said, can you give me an example? And they couldn't give me an example. So I scroll, and I was like, can you give me an example by the end of the day? They said yes. I scrolled through the text messages, and I'm like, every time they give me feedback, I just say sounds good. Even if I disagree with it, I just say sounds good. And then at the end of the day, they didn't give me an example. Like, they couldn't give me an example. And I think it was just this one situation that was miscommunication. So it was just like very weird. And then the follow-up though was they said, we're not going to give you a raise right now because we haven't seen enough growth in revenue for us to justify the raise. That is completely fine. I'm 1000% okay with that. It's a business. If you want to give me a raise, but I have to prove that I'm bringing in revenue, that makes sense. But that also means that the content I'm making for you guys needs to kind of stop and be more focused towards bringing in sales. And they're like, okay. So then I start making like sales ideas. I'm like, hey, look at this. And they're like, hey, we actually want you, like, hey, like, that's not good enough. We need it to be higher value items. They wanted me to make videos about $1,000 statues. I've made videos on $1,000 statues. They don't sell. They don't get a lot of views. They don't do anything because what audience? So an audience for a $1,000 statue versus an audience for a $30 playmat, you can sell a lot more of these $30 playmats than this $1,000 statue. And there's just more into it. But it was like, we were on just different pages. We were just on completely different pages on what they were expecting versus what would actually benefit in my opinion, the entire company. What would benefit the company versus what they wanted from me was just not the same. And I disagreed with a lot of their stuff and everything. It was kind of just a toxic place. I needed to get away from it. So that's the situation I'm in right now.
Well, I wish I didn't learn it on the podcast. But I get it, dude. Life is not just like for you and just any listener out there. Life is hard, and figuring it out is hard. And I know I'm in a very blessed situation because I was able to figure out my thing. But at the same time, like, my revenue is going down consistently, and I'm also fighting and trying to figure out how to keep what I'm doing, So it's no, I mean, I don't want to say no one goes through life doing the exact same thing for the entire time, because some people do, but, yeah, it's tricky, bro. And, I'm proud of you. I know you learned a lot, even though despite that situation not lasting very long or panning out, I know you learned a lot when you were there. You also clearly had hard conversations, which is one of the most beneficial things you can have in your life, is hard conversations, because that helps you grow, helps you with newer hard conversations that you're going to have down the road. So I'm proud of you for those. And defending yourself when they said, like, you don't take feedback well and you always argue, and you're just like, well, can I see an example of me arguing? And they didn't have one. That being said, they probably didn't have an example of you arguing, but they probably didn't like your vibe, is really what it came down to, is when they gave you feedback. The vibe that you gave back was probably a negative vibe.
It's frustrating. I'm not gonna disagree with what you're saying, because, like, honestly, what you said is kind of what they said, but it's just miscommunication. I never saw my managers. My managers were at their house, and I was at a warehouse. We were texting, and everything that, like, they didn't like about me seemed to be miscommunication through, like, the loss of tone. Whereas if we were just having a conversation, it'd be a completely different tone. And it was just, it was just a toxic environment for me, and I just wanted to step away from it.
No, totally. And it did nothing wrong that you made a decision for you. And, like, that's what you should do. And if it was affecting you or Kirsty's relationship because you were coming home super angry, like, stuff like that is important. Like, I've dropped sponsors because working with them is just so frustrating. And it's like, dude, I can't keep working with these people. Like, everything is like getting lost in tone, or they just keep asking and asking. It's like, dude, that's not, I don't work for you, like, type of situation. I work with you. I don't work, like, you're not my boss. So, you'll figure it out, bro. And we can talk more, not on the podcast, with ideas and things, but, what do you want to talk about?
I wanted to talk on what you said earlier about, like, the having tough conversations. I don't know exactly what sparked it. I think that working at Avis and Budget really helped me, because working at Avis Budget, renting cars, like, you have to have tough conversations with customers, with complete strangers, which is, to some people, easier than having a tough conversation with someone you know. And for some people, it's harder to have a tough conversation with somebody that you have no idea about, right? And I don't know what it was that kind of really, like, what job or what interaction or what thing really sparked it, but after, I think, like, moving back down to Colorado Springs, after living with you and everything, but after moving back down to Colorado Springs, maybe a year or two after, I got really good at having tough conversations. I don't know what sparked it or whatever, but it is, like Johnathan said, like, having tough conversations is one of the best things that you can do for a good amount of reasons. But it's like, one of the things I like about my relationship with my wife is we can have tough conversations. But the other thing is that we both can give a tough conversation, but we also can both receive a tough conversation. Like, understanding that feedback is important and feedback is good and all that stuff is nice. And it's also, like, to be able to give that feedback and give it effectively is also really nice. And yeah, I'm not afraid to have a tough conversation with people, and I'm really proud of that about myself. I'm happy that I do that nowadays. So
heck yeah. I know that when I worked at Target, I was like, why they said they couldn't promote me. I do think it still to this day was kind of some smoke, but they were saying that I wasn't good at having the hard conversations. And I was like, well, if my team's getting all their stuff done and we're killing it, there is no need to have hard conversations because all the work is done. But yeah, it is. It's definitely a skill that I always am working on still, and trying to have the right conversation. Because like I'm also the type of person where like I don't want to lose any friendships or acquaintances, things like that. It's like some people can't take hard feedback or a hard conversation. They just, you lose them, essentially. So it is what it is.
Giving a tough conversation is really important, but also receiving it and the way that you receive it is also very important. A lot of people take those tough conversations super personally, and that's kind of what you were saying earlier about me. It's like I don't take them like the tough conversations personally, but there's an NF lyric that I love, and it's like I don't mind taking advice as long as it's not presented ignorantly. And that's something I struggle with, I think, because I think that some of the advice I was given, it was just like wrong advice. I don't know.
I'll say, I mean, as someone that's created content for so many years now, I have been given horrible advice or like horrible ideas, or like, someone's always saying something.
Wow,
like,
you're just calling me out like that?
And it's, you take the way to do it is take the advice, listen to it. If it applies, apply it. If it doesn't, it's all right. Just move on. I know, like with brands, like something I've been doing where I work with a brand and they're like, hey, make these 6 changes. If there's something that I want to keep, I won't make the changes. I know, like with Insta360, when the last launch videos for the X4, they're like, hey, this footage isn't like 4K. We want to remove it out of the video. And I'm like, hey, like this was shot on the X3, but it's the clips I have. These are the only clips I have that are explaining. I was talking about me with my kids with the camera. And so I had clips of me and my kids, and they're like, remove it. I'm like, no, because that ruins the story. I get the image quality isn't what you quote unquote want, but it ruins the overall video. So I refuse to take that part out of, and I like stood up for my edit and my decision making as the content creator. So like, you don't have to always take the criticism or the correction. It sounds awful. If that makes sense.
I know what you mean, and that was something that we struggled with when it came to my job, was just like from a creative standpoint, like reality. Yes, I've been very inconsistent over the time, but I have literally been making YouTube videos since January of 2013. And what I mean by making YouTube videos, like full on, like filming, editing, posting, like all me, everything about it. And like some stuff was like shorter stuff, some stuff was longer stuff. I've been doing this for a long time, and then I've taken it like I took it pretty seriously when like Fortnite came out and I was doing good with that, and then stopped for a little bit, and I took it seriously with Apex, and I took it seriously with like other stuff. And like I know a lot about content. I know a lot about content. I've done a lot of research. So it's like when somebody's changing not your vision, but changing the story, it's like, that's not, we can't do that. Like, that's not how this works. So I know what you mean, bro.
Well, especially like, because I post daily, when I go film something for a brand, like you get, and I tell this to them when I'm doing the communication. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go film one day. So like, what do you want me to talk about and show off? Because I'm going to go film one day. And so if we don't get the shots, like you can't ask for different shots. Like these are the shots you're going to get. So what do you want? And so,
yeah. And you've got so many elements to deal with. Cause it's like, if you're making a video, you're outside in full on snowboard gear. And then like the crew that you're with can change. And then also the quantity of people. So like if you're there filming and it's a bluebird day and you're wearing this snowboard gear and it's a Saturday, so it's extremely busy, and then you have to go film an audit on the Wednesday after where it's cloudy, dark, and you may have been wearing like slightly different clothing or something, and it's nowhere near as busy, that is a different, like it doesn't flow the same, like
totally.
it's not the same. Whereas in like the video game world, or even like in like in a controlled environment, you can manipulate footage in that way.
Yeah, if it's in the office, you quickly film something different. But yeah, like if it's a super warm day and I wore a windbreaker and now it's puking snow for the next 3 weeks, like I got to wear actual gear and stuff. So, yeah, working with brands is the only thing that I would say that I don't. Not that I don't, because there are brands I love working with. I love working with Glue. I love working with Insta360. But it is the only time where it's like someone's telling me to make adjustments to my creative process or whatever. And I'm like, hey, get out of here. If that makes sense. Because when I make my own edit, like I make it and then it's good.
It's great. Now I know that people that do like commission artwork really struggle with that, right? Like tattoo artists or people that just do like graphic design work and stuff like that. The people like a common meme in that community is they'll be like, yeah, I just want to give you like 100% creative freedom over this, and they're like, okay, sounds good, and they come up with an idea, and then the client is like, okay, I want to change this, and it's like, you said you gave me 100% creative freedom on this or whatever, and it's just funny. But for tattooing, it's kind of a little bit different because it's like, it is going to be permanently on my body. I kind of want it to be a certain way type of thing. So I think that tattoo artists are a little bit more lenient with that. But I know that it's always funny when they say that and then get torn every which way.
Have you showed the podcast your new tattoo?
The new tattoo? Yeah, I actually talked about it in the last podcast, but nobody cares, work harder. It is a mentality.
I haven't finished it. I'm like,
you're fine, bro. But nobody cares, work harder. It is, I do live by this, although it sounds hypocritical as we were talking today. But it's like, no, I do live by this. And then eventually I get to a point where I can't live by this long enough because I'm just like, I care too much. Nobody cares, but I care too much. No.
You know what's crazy, bro?
That's fun.
And I didn't know this, but I wear this bracelet. It's from Cameron Haynes. He's a bow hunter. He's on Joe Rogan's podcast all the time. And I got his Keep Hammering bracelet, and I got it in like a package. So I just keep wearing it. And I didn't realize what it said on it. And you know what this bracelet says? Nobody cares, work hard. Yeah. And I've been wearing this like every day for almost a year now. And I had no idea that it said that on there.
Well, I got it tattooed on me. So
yeah. Go on,
speaking of, I think it's Joe Rogan. Yeah, I think it's Joe Rogan. He has a Netflix special, and I'm worried about it. I say I'm worried about it. The reason being is because I just saw the title of it. It's called Joe Rogan, Burn the Boats. And I've talked about my esports organization. It's called Shipwrecked Gaming, and it follows the story of Hernan Cortez, the conquistador that told his shipmates to burn the boats because they're winning. They're gonna invade this area and they're gonna win. And we burned our backup plan, so there is no backup plan, right? That's what my like brand is, and that's why I do it. And so now Joe Rogan has this Netflix special called Burn the Boats, and I'm like, shoot. Number one, people are gonna think I took it from him. I did not. And two, what if he's like making fun of Burn the Boats? Now I'm gonna be laughing. Sorry, I gotta watch this Netflix comedy special to see what Burn the Boats is all about. So
yeah, I mean, burn the boats is a very common saying, but hey, you could change it to carry the boats, if you know what I mean.
Who's gonna carry the boat? I think this is a good time to wrap up the podcast, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying that. I was like, I think we did it. I think we killed this podcast. Started heavy nerd with the video gaming, and then it got real, man. I didn't know, dude. I'm gonna have to get on the phone, bro.
I don't know if you. We will have to get on the phone, but no, yeah, dude. The like I said in my solo cast, like I feel like our podcast is very much about like motivational, but also it's very real on like where we're struggling and very like, you know, it's just a very real podcast. I like this. I like doing this with you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this content as well. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, check out our other podcasts. This will be the last podcast in Texas, right, bro?
Could be. I get back on the 6th, which is a Tuesday. So we could film on Wednesday next week, or we could film on Monday in this office again. So
let's film on Wednesday next week.
In my studio.
Heck in his studio. Got anything to say, bro?
No, guys. thanks for watching, listening, subscribing, and more content coming. There's definitely more shorts coming because Ben's got nothing else to do. Not joking.
Yes. No, that's what I'm doing today. More shorts. Yep. All right. Like I said, thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing. Thank you guys for listening. We really do appreciate it. We will see you guys next week with another podcast. Peace.